Hello everyone! Don't judge my outfit, you guys know I like to do these videos in my pajamas, okay? And if you didn't know that, well then, now you know. Welcome back to Army Takuzi. You guys already know who I am, but if you are new, then you can call me Zumoshi. And today I'm going to be checking out the 2018 anime known as Devilman Crybaby. This show only has one season with a total of 11 episodes. I've heard some conflicting views about the anime, so I don't know what I'll think of it personally. All I know is that I heard it's kind of weird, at least in the beginning. Apparently, the anime is supposed to be a modern retelling of the original Devilman manga. I wouldn't know because I haven't read it, but apparently that's what it's supposed to be, and it has some various altercations or differences from the manga, obviously. Yeah, I don't really know anything at all about this anime. If you guys know me, then you know whenever I start a new show, I like to go in totally clean slate so that I don't have any pre-existing opinions or thoughts about the show, if I can help it. So that's what I'm doing with this show because I know absolutely nothing. I am going to guess. I'm pretty sure there are two male protagonists that are the main focus of the show. As for the setting, I don't know. I'm guessing the anime is set in a world where both humans and monsters, or so-called devils, exist, and one of the two or maybe both of those protagonists fight against these devils. Maybe one of them, or even both of them, gain some kind of power that gives them an edge to fighting off these monsters. But that power might be devil related, or it could be just a whole devil power giving us our Devilman for the show. I'm guessing. With those initial thoughts out of the way, let's go ahead and let the binging commence. Alright guys, I'm gonna start giving you my initial thoughts on the series, and then we'll slide into the official overview along with my thoughts on the show as a whole. My assumptions of the show weren't completely wrong. I got the main premises of the plot correct. Sort of. And it's simply that devils or demons do exist in their world, and that our main character, Akira, gains the power of a demon and uses it to protect humans from other demons. One thing that particularly took me by surprise in Devilman Crybaby is the sheer amount of nudity, not even the violence. It was all of the sexual content and sexual innuendos displayed throughout the show, which strangely enough I've come to sort of appreciate because it gives the show a realistic aspect as to how humans actually are. In our own world, sex is everything. It's everywhere, and Devilman Crybaby discloses that quite clearly. It's rare to see that kind of content in other animes because anything sex related is shown in an overly dramatic or fake way, and I think that's why it really took me by surprise. So, with that in mind, if you're somehow watching this video and you haven't seen the anime yet, then I highly recommend you do not watch it around others. Don't be like me and watch it on the living room TV, because that's just not gonna be a good idea, trust me. But moving on, I want to start talking about the pacing of the show. As I mentioned before, this series is only 10 episodes long, and I finished it in one sitting. As you would expect, they don't waste any time. They nosedive straight into the plot, and they explain a lot in the first episode, so I didn't really understand why some people were saying they were confused. The initial concept was simple to grasp, at least in my opinion. Unlike most animes, the first episode shows us what the context of the entire series will involve. They have Ryo explain to Akira, who is just as clueless as the audience at that point, as to what demons are and what they do in their world. Ryo explains that the demons, also known as devils, are creatures that have existed on Earth for far longer than humans have. He explains the demons have the ability to merge with other creatures and have done so throughout history in order to sustain their own survival. Ryo also describes how they use this ability to unsuspectingly live amongst humans and prey on them. After listening to this shocking revelation, Akira agrees to help Ryo expose the existence of demons in the hopes of saving mankind. Of course, it isn't until later that we discover those weren't Ryo's actual objectives. But while we're finally getting into the nitty and gritty of the show, can I just say I knew Ryo was sus from the jump, right from episode 1, simply because what he was doing didn't match what he was saying. I was questioning his intentions. Why was Ryo willing to go so far to expose the devils? Or rather, why was he purposely putting Akira at risk of getting possessed by one? Not to mention how Ryo knew of the demon Amon, and how he wanted it to specifically possess Akira. I didn't understand what he was trying to do by having Akira become a devilman, aside from possibly using him to defeat other devils. After all, if all Ryo wanted to do was make others believe demons exist, then he had more than enough evidence from the footage he recorded at Sabbath. It made me believe Ryo simply wished to eradicate all demons by using Akira, instead of actually trying to expose them. Naturally, I was wrong, but what else was I supposed to think? That aside, I want to talk about a few of the characters. I feel like each character in this show was used for their designated roles appropriately. Starting with Miki Kuroda, who is better known as Miko throughout the series. I feel like she represents both the good and bad of human nature, and in a way becomes a character the audience can relate to. Miko's emotions of jealousy and envy drive her to lose her humanity, though it is only after Miko experiences this drastic change that she can finally outwardly acknowledge her track and field rival, Miki Makimura, and accept her own skills, thus regaining some of the humanity we thought she lost forever. Miki Makimura, on the other hand, is your classic Miss Perfect, super nice, next door neighbor kind of girl, and while she doesn't do anything extraordinary in the show, Miki is a pretty mellow character who acts as both a beacon of hope and a love interest to Akira. Now, our main protagonist is steadfast, ambitious, and above all else, sympathetic, earning himself, I guess, the nickname Crybaby, which we see in the title of the anime. There really isn't much for me to say about Akira Fudo, except that he's what you'd expect in a main character, which isn't a bad thing. Now, Ryo Asuka was probably the most complex character for me to understand in the beginning. Throughout the entirety of Devilman Crybaby, Ryo would repeatedly slander the faults he saw in humans, stating that they were mentally weak-minded and incapable of rational thought, as they always allowed their emotions to govern their actions. Keep in mind that this was already his mindset towards people before he reawakened as Satan. This tells me that even while unaware of his true identity, Ryo never considered himself to be human, and I think his persistence to remain quote-unquote rational and emotionless during the series proves that. His mindset being something along the lines of, if I am incapable of having emotions, then I am unsusceptible to human weaknesses. This aligns with the very first thing he says to us in the show. Love does not exist. There is no such thing. Therefore, there is no sadness. Immediately after, he says, "That is what I thought." So somewhere along the line, something or someone changed his mind, and I think we can all agree that that someone, in this case, was Akira. Ryo had unknowingly come to care for Akira. After all, they had practically grown up together. Since Ryo didn't acknowledge emotions, he never acknowledged that what he'd felt towards Akira was love. And I don't mean romantically, guys. I simply mean that Ryo cared for Akira. He only cared for Akira. And it's this sentiment that makes Akira's death even sadder, because Ryo couldn't identify the sorrow and emptiness he was feeling. Despite being the one to kill Akira, he was incapable of understanding those emotions. Devilman Crybaby is a lot. It's a heavy anime, and I feel like there's a lot you can take away from it. So many things that you can analyze or dissect within just these 10 episodes. It's kinda crazy. There are two main concepts that this show includes. The first being the clear message that in life there isn't always a happy ending, that even if someone perseveres, that even if someone never gives up, they still won't win, and we see that in Akira's failure to defeat Ryo. We see that in the incomplete passing of the baton, Akira was never able to take from Miki in her final moments, essentially leaving the promise made between them unfulfilled. And we also see it in the lucky earring that was given to Miki as a protective charm, and how it failed to save her, and later Akira, who wore it in his final battle. Devilman Crybaby's second ideal surrounds the conceptualization of conflicting morals. Simply put, how humans view the demons as monsters, despite having the potential to act as monsters themselves. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be good? What is justice? What is right? Those were Miko's final words as she died protecting Miki not from demons, but humans. Despite this concept being prevalent in many other animes, some examples being The Promised Neverland, Tokyo Ghoul, and Parasite, the harsh and abrupt ending every single character was forced to face sets this one apart. Most would say that the ending of Devilman Crybaby is unsatisfying, and they're right. It is, but that's kind of the point. And while we were all thrown into despair at Akira's death, I couldn't help but hold on to the teeny, tiny glimmer of hope shown in the final scene of episode 10. It was the same clip shown to us in the first episode, except we see what looks to be like a restored Earth, a second moon, and the first moon that suffered damage from Ryo and Akira's fight. What does this mean? I could only assume that sometime after Ryo and his army of demons conquered the Earth, God wiped them out as he did before and sort of created a new world, hence the second moon that appears. It leaves me to think about whether our main characters will be reincarnated, whether Ryo will reawaken as Satan again, and allow the battle between humans and demons to continue and cycle over and over again. Or does it serve as a second chance to Akira, to humankind to finally prevail? It's an open ending left up to the watcher's portrayal, or at least that was my interpretation of it. I would classify this anime in the fantasy and action thriller genre, along with its shonen qualities relating to Akira in the beginning. Devilman Crybaby is a dark anime that questions the morality of humans and forces us to acknowledge how cruel reality can really be. It's definitely a show I'll be stuck thinking about for a while, which finally leads us to the rating of this anime. I am going to rate Devilman Crybaby an 8 out of 10, and our MVP is going to be Ryo. Alright, and not because he's my favorite character. I honestly don't like him that much, but I appreciate his character and the complexity he brings to the show. And that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Obviously, everything in here is my own interpretation of Devilman Crybaby and what I took from it. Let me know what you agreed or disagree with in the comments. I would love to talk about it with y'all. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, then please give this video a like and subscribe down below. Other than that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!